Well, hello, everyone. Greetings. This is Ted Schmidt from Action Coach Northwest, and this is our business community podcast for the greater Spokane area. And today, our guest is Dan Roark from Gestalt Diagnostics right here in Spokane. And Dan is from Spokane, but he has worked all over the world in the technology industry and has got some great stories. And hopefully, he's going to share some stuff with us today. And so, welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite, Ted.
Of course, absolutely. So we're going to get right into it here. We got a few questions that we're going to have you answer, and hopefully the business owners out there who are watching the podcast will get some really great insights from it, from your experience and what you've done with your businesses and your career. Okay, first question. If you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think the important thing in business that you learn through your career is leaning on those around you. Asking advice. Trying to partner with others. When you're a little guy, you don't realize that big companies have so many partnerships. There's this whole world of organic versus inorganic growth. Organic is kind of what you build up as a business, your own products, yourself, and you can only go so far with that. So to the extent that you can leverage sales forces from bigger companies, they're very hungry for new technology. These are things I didn't learn super early in life. And, I see, that's been a big way to grow some of the things we're doing today.
Wow, great insight there. That nobody's answered that question like that before, so that was good. That was good. So, can we take that just a little bit further? Do you feel like it's important to surround yourself with people who are better than you in certain areas?
If I could get everybody that was better than me in every area, that only makes the business stronger, right? So
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm not afraid of smart people. I like to latch on and hold on, if I
there you
can.
go.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
great. Take note of that, everybody. Okay, so next question. What have your biggest learnings been as an employer since you began in business?
Man, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Um, from the outside, it looks kind of glamorous. And on the inside, it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of rewards. When you start something, you start with I like to say a napkin and say, what if we built this? And then you actually go out and do it. And then it becomes a real business is really exciting. But there's a lot of mistakes along the way. Everybody makes mistakes, but the faster you go to make those mistakes and then correct, to me is the signature of a good company. There's a lot of pivots or redirects, and a lot of check-ins with your customers to make sure that what you're doing actually matters to them, because we often get in our own little bubble and we forget that the customer, his voice is in many, I'll say is more important than ours. Of course, you have to get the opinion of a bunch of them so you don't go down one rabbit hole that nobody else has any interest in either.
yeah, yeah. So would you say it's important? You mentioned it's really hard work to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. Would you say it's important to really be passionate about what you do or really enjoy what you're doing as a business owner?
Well, I'd say it sucks if you don't.
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, so I think you have to find your passion, and people who are really passionate, have high energy. It's infective. The people around you that
sure.
you share that, and you get that collective kinetic energy, and that's what moves the bus as a business.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that a lot. So that's good. You're confirming that. So, okay, next question. What are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
Um, well, I think employ geez, I would say employees really, everybody wants to be paid at the top of scale, and
Mhm.
managing money is as the leader of the business is huge, and so you have to find a team that's willing to invest with you to a degree and give them some ownership in the business so that, if there's a potential exit in the future, everybody participates. I think to me, that's super important. As you look at, how do you get the right, best people on your team? Because it's hard, depending upon your funding, to get the best employees, which is what we all want to do.
Yeah.
But we have 26 employees today, 7 years in. And, we've got PhD data scientists on our team and in Europe and in North America. And, we have people spread out. It's a very interesting world since the pandemic, although there was certainly, I'll say, fractional teams before that were not all co-located. But in today's world, that's commonplace. Even if you're at a big company, you're not necessarily working from the office every day, so you don't rub elbows every day. So that kinetic energy we talked about a few minutes ago, how do you instill that when you're on Zoom, et cetera? So those are some of the challenges in terms of managing your team and keeping that energy and keeping that momentum. That's really important.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot from a lot of our clients and just the business community in general is that the remote working thing has changed things dramatically. And it is harder, I think, when you're remote than when you're face to face all the time. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you're saying that too. So
I would say that people are actually happier though. If you can get some overlap, face to face, I think that's really important. But, we all kind of hunker down if we're working from home and there's not a lot of distractions. And so
uh-oh, I think our connection got stalled here.
uh-oh.
Are you still there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Are you
Uh,
there?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, everything kind of froze there, but I'm showing a full set of bars on my internet. How's yours looking?
It says that I've got full bars. So I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened,
Strange.
unfortunately.
Little glitch. Anyway, we apologize for the little glitch, but you were just talking about the remote working thing and how people kind of like it, but it is nice to get face to face once in a while. So
Yep.
yeah. Okay. What do you attribute your growth to?
I think it's being really close to customers. In our space in digital health, it's really working with medical directors and the head of IT at large healthcare companies. I think in any business, you really have to be close to your customer. And, I think to the extent that you hear their ask, I think you have to put together, some pretty strong, here's what I heard you say you need, so that you can
Mhm.
have what we call a statement of work. So we can really, we don't want to build something that's not exactly what they want. And we want to build it that's more general purpose than just for one company, if that makes
Sure.
sense. So I think the extent that you can really communicate back and forth on those things, you have a much higher probability of success.
Excellent. Excellent. So why don't you take it just a minute and share a little bit more about specifically what your company does? We haven't really touched on that so much.
Yeah. So we're focused in digital health. We're actually working with pathologists in the labs and the patients that they serve. A pathologist is a doctor who focuses on biopsy tissue, resections, and blood. So they're the person that definitively tells you what your disease is. And there's the cancer paradigm. They're the person who, after a radiologist and an oncologist find a lump, which is then classified as a tumor, that then they will go to resect, or first of all, they'll do a biopsy. That material all ends up in front of a pathologist. And we're changing their workflow and I'll say their ability to take advantage of the remote ability to work from anywhere at any time without having to have glass with tissue on it. So their world today is a
Mm,
microscope based workflow. And by definition, that's a manual workflow. It's eyeball driven, and it's pattern of recognition driven. So just like you can spend 10,000 hours, as Malcolm Gladwell tells you, to learn to fly an airplane, a B-52 or 747, a pathologist puts in his time to get the pattern recognition between normal cells and abnormal cells. And then based upon various biomarkers, via various stains that they use when they're looking at those tissue samples, they can
Mhm.
say, hey, unfortunately, you're stage 2 breast cancer, but fortunately, with your biomarker profile, you're a great candidate for Keytruda, the biggest cancer drug on the market from Merck, to use, for your treatment, because of your profile, your biomarker profile. So we actually have a very big play in terms of helping do that cancer diagnosis for the pathologist. And we can point out the cancer hotspots. We can actually score that for them, allow them to do everything, without paper and without today, they handle hundreds to thousands of glass slides a year. Um, and that's how they do their diagnostic work. One cancer patient or one case could be 30 pieces of tissue on 30
Wow.
different pieces of glass. And depending upon if they're in Pullman or Moscow or the Tri-Cities, that may be arriving to them by courier. And they're, first of all, sending the resection to the lab via Tupperware. So it goes to the lab, gets processed, and then it gets passed back to the pathologist. In our world, we don't give them the physical glass slides with tissue on them. We give them a digital image like radiology and cardiology. So
Okay.
it's a big paradigm shift with a
Wow.
very
Yeah.
with a great outcome for the patient and for the physician. So it's been an exciting business as we've, embarked on enterprise cloud solutions. We're hundreds of orders of magnitude bigger image-wise than radiology that went digital 20 years ago. So we have bigger issues, moving those in the cloud. It used to be everything was on-prem. Our biggest investors, Inland Imaging, here in Spokane, there are 150 or so radiologists spread across multiple states. And when they went digital, they had 40 couriers that went away. All of the film in radiology went away. So
So that
that
really speeds things up, right?
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't qualify for a drug that's on the market today, we also have modules, research modules that tie into, like, our biggest customers are like Northwell Health, the biggest healthcare in the tri-state area in New York, and arguably one of the top 5 in North America. They were ground zero for COVID. So, to the extent that these groups can work fast, and they have the help of AI in doing that diagnostic work, they miss fewer cases.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to miss a case on purpose, but we're human.
Right.
So to the extent we can leverage AI to ensure that patients get the right diagnosis, that's the right outcome.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. I just got an education. That's really good. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. So, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
It's always a juggling act. But I'm a passionate guy that has a lot of outdoor activities I love to do. I've got kids and grandkids and a significant other. And you have to embrace life, and it kind of comes at you fast, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's just something I've done my whole career. And those that work with me, I think we all have to juggle, right? So it's
Well,
just a matter of priorities. And I pretty much get my weekends to myself, but there are some things that you have to do. And with my travel schedule to see customers and be in front of investors and a number of other things, you're not sleeping in your own bed every night. But that's just
no. Yeah.
part of it.
Well, I kind of relate it to being, being an entrepreneur is really it's a lifestyle. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yep.
And so you have to really kind of embrace it. So, okay, what qualities do you look for in employees and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
Yeah, so one great example is we've hired a couple Eagle Scouts.
Hmm.
Guys that have learned early in their career kind of how to multitask. They still had all of their school commitments and other hobbies, playing sports, et cetera. But, the scouts give, I think, kids a great outlet to focus on, how to reach milestones and feel good about that. So, that's one way that we've hired people. I just think people that are passionate about the field that they're in, if it's in our case, computer science and data analytics, you want guys that really embrace that and have a lot of knowledge or a lot of interest to grow in that space. But you need to spend time together as a team, and there has to be some seriousness, but you have to be able to joke and have some fun as well. It's not all just head down. So, we try and, we're located right down on the river in the University District in the McKinstry building. So,
Yeah.
try and get people outside. I mean, I think everybody in this region are outdoors, or I think second to none. So, we have a good culture. We have good benefits. We want to take care of our employees. We pay, competitively. And then we also want employees, as I said earlier, to have some options and upside if the business does get sold at some point in time.
Okay. So there's a future incentive there as well to stay with you. So yeah. Okay, just a couple questions left here. So here's one. What question should I be asking you that I haven't?
Oh boy, I don't know. Yeah, I maybe didn't give this one enough thought, but I would say, how do you solve cancer when people have been at it for so long? My background is, it's really interesting to me to see how I helped automate the Human Genome Project. And
Mhm.
the transition from that to cohorts, how do we follow families and determine the difference between environment and genomics? That's the kind of the big questions that from a science standpoint we've been dealing with. So to me, those are things that I've been really passionate about. And now, helping doctors actually do a diagnosis and find a way to help patients. To me, those are things that are, super exciting.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah. You came up with something pretty good. That's good. Okay.
Okay.
All right, last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And any words of advice for other business owners who are looking to grow their business?
Yeah. So in 5 years, I'm planning to slow down. I'll be 67 in 5 years.
Mhm.
I would say probably a couple days a week would be my hope at that point, but we'll see how it goes. Um, I really want to see this business continue to grow. I'm in Europe next week, meeting with partners all over there. And, it's exciting to see the optimism in the space. And so, for those looking to grow a business, I would say, say yes to opportunities. Don't say no. You can always work for the other guy. I mean, what's the worst case that can happen? If you risk a little, I say you get a little. If you risk a lot, you could get more. And if you're super passionate about something, why not give it a try? People respect that, even if it doesn't work. Not everything works. Not everything I've tried works. But you
Wow,
keep plowing.
that's the truth. That's the truth. Well, great. Awesome. Well done. Thank you very much, Dan. Dan Roark from Gestalt Diagnostics. And we will look forward to putting this out on our newsletter and sharing this with the business community here in Spokane. So again, Dan, thank you very much for being part of our podcast, and we'll see you around town. How's
Okay,
that?
Ted, thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome.